Now I'm here with Ginger Lewman, who did a talk on Big 5 must-have tools for learning by doing. So what grade do you teach and where do you teach?
Right now, I teach kindergarten through 12th grade teachers. So every chance I can, I get in and co-teach with kids, but originally I'm a middle school and high school teacher.
That's awesome. And where do you teach?
I actually, right now, everywhere, but I'm based in Kansas, so a lot of my work is done in Kansas, but I travel across the United States and sometimes into other countries too.
Cool.
So what is your background in education? We enjoyed your talk. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So what is your background in education?
My background in education originally, I was a social studies teacher, so middle school and high school. And then I got my master's in psychology, special education with an emphasis in gifted ed. And I worked in that field for a while. And then I started my own school. So then we started working, I was working K-12 with that. So my background is varied, very different, and just kind of all over the place.
Nice. We enjoyed your talk. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about that?
Say that again,
Holly. We enjoyed your talk. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was about? Or
Yeah, a little bit about that.
about that?
All right. We enjoyed your talk. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, today in here, I always have kind of an outline to go by in case people in an audience just want to be basted with information. But I really like to have interactivity. And this group today really took me off script because they wanted to know more about the project-based learning and rather than just tools, which I really appreciate because tools come and go. It's how we get it in. So I did a lot of work with the teachers about what does project-based learning look and feel like.
Nice. Thank you.
It does. The little, I got some big ones at home. I should do that.
Oh, he smashed his strawberry.
They're making a big mess inside, aren't they?
They are. Everything's ruined. The balloon animals were flying all over the place. Poor Henry.
The cool thing is it really feels like you're in there.
It's really trippy.
If you've never done anything like this, you got to do it. If you like roller coasters, boy, have I got some things for you. Yeah. Yeah? Anyways, I'm not selling these. I just love them. And to me, this is the streaming music of now. This sort of thing, the educational purpose to it, there are some educational purposes to it. I've got some kids who are studying Anne Frank's stories, and you can actually take a virtual tour through her house through this so that you're surrounded 360. So as I'm not walking, I'm just sitting. I like to be in a rolly chair that swivels so I can turn around and look back. And I can go up and down the stairs. And I can go into different rooms, I can go through doors, I can touch objects that are inside the house and it tells a story in her voice or somebody else's voice. It's really, really powerful. It's also $300 powerful, which is a little much, right? So in my perfect world, I have a classroom full of Google Cardboard, which we can afford, right? Kids have phones, most of them. Right. So if they don't, then that's another issue to deal with. But if they have their phones, it costs me $6 for Google Cardboard and nothing else. And they can do all sorts of really cool experiences that way. And then I also want to have one of these on hand. Do you remember, those of us who have a little more white in our hair, I'm making a judgment call, sorry for the young ones. Back in the day when digital cameras first came out, did you run out and buy a super high dollar DSLR? We did not. Maybe for yourself, but not for your children, not for your kids. We bought the cheap $15, $20, $30 throwawayable cameras, the digital cameras, so that they could, one, show responsibility, learn how to use them. And then when they showed some interest and ability, then I would let them touch my more expensive camera. Same sort of thing here. This morning when I talked about shifting from 33 1/3 albums through the 8-tracks, through the cassettes, through the CDs, through the MP3 to the streaming, this is your streaming. Because what's coming next after this? This is a big deal. This virtual reality stuff. And I want my kids to have some experience before the next thing comes out. That's all. If you can afford it. If you can't, get the Google Cardboard. You can afford that. Just gonna say that right now. What's it got to do with PBL? Nothing. Other than just a different experience. Where are you now?
I'm done.
You're finished. All right. Good feel-good story?
It was so cute. They brought him a turtle so he could have someone to hug.
That's right, because he's a hedgehog.
Because the turtle's safe.
Yes. That's so sweet. Thanks.
Now here's the real one.
Beautiful. Now, yes, exactly. And once you're in it for a while, it can get a little disorienting.
It's a little,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave these right here, and if anybody wants to play with these, I'll put you in the other part of the room. Anybody want to play? We'll get to, oh, you do. Okay. So, here's the thing. Yeah. You can read, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all you need. You don't need instructions. Go. Okay. You know why? Because they're not afraid of clicking things and breaking it. I am, but they'll be fine. As long as they don't throw it on the ground. Okay, back to the 5 tools. I hope you also got the message today that I'm not always really great with time and numbers and stuff. I'm gonna hand you a whole lot more than 5 tools. Okay, but I'm gonna give it to you in a way that you can have it for always and forever and dine on this buffet at your leisure. Okay, so notice around the outside here. What are you seeing with this? Talk to somebody. What do you notice about that in regard to PBL? Talk to somebody and say, what do you think? I think this is that, or this is what she's talking about. Everybody look at this piece right here. This is the PBL cycle in action, isn't it? It really is. You know, we hook them with some great idea, or they come up with some great idea that they're curious about, and then we start by digging in and researching, yes? And as they're researching and figuring out stuff, we got to figure out, they're really bad at time management and productivity, yes or no? Absolutely. And so through the PBL cycle, this is where our kids get to practice this stuff. Now, okay, so they learn stuff, they're figuring out to make sure that they're going to have enough time to get stuff what they've done, what they're planning to do. They're doing their processing, they're thinking deeper, the next level, the problem solving. And in order to go even deeper, I'm all about the collaboration and connecting with others. Here's the saying that we say in Ed Tech a lot. I'm just going to do a quiz with you, so if you don't know it, it's okay. You will now. In this room, who's the smartest person? Answer out loud.
It's a collaboration.
The typical answer that we would have is the room is the smartest person in the room. The collaborative piece, right? I know what I know. But if I put what I know with you, what you know, oh gosh, I'm more than double smart now. Right? And I put it with you and you with you, the smartest person is the room. And when we have access to these digital tools, how big is our kids' room? Infinitely bigger, right? So when I'm standing in the front of the room here, not only here, but also in the classroom, I'm licensed in social studies in the state of Kansas to teach social studies, which means, according to the state of Kansas, I'm an expert in everything from the beginning, in American history that's ever happened, from the beginning of time to now. I'm also an expert in having to do with everything that's ever happened in the world from the beginning of time to now. I'm also an expert in everything having to do with every culture, religion, situation in every part of the world from the beginning of time to now. I'm an expert in everything having to do with every government that has ever existed. I'm also an expert in macroeconomics and micro. Are you freaking kidding me? I am not an expert in any of those things. I am an expert in teaching and learning. So how do I get my kids connected, learning from people who are true experts? So if I have to talk about, in my classroom, we're talking about Native Americans, right? Sure, I read some books. Sure, I did some research back in the day. Why don't I have my kids learning from real experts? You know, somebody who's a little more Native American than this right here. More than just Google searches. How do I get them to collaborate with the room, right? So there's where we are. Publishing. Publishing. I think this is really important. Turn to somebody and say, why is publishing our kids' work out in public important? Brief conversation. Why do we want to put our kids' work out in public? I know, I'm in New Hampshire right now. I know. Every time I work with project-based learning and I put some stuff together for teachers and I say, hey, you're gonna build this digital store. I put them through the rigors of what PBL is on my long workshops. And I tell them, oh, and you're gonna publish this. And at that point, I can hear it, sphincter slam shut. People say, what? I'm gonna publish this? Right, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. And for visual people in there, this is video, great. That it all of a sudden puts another level of, I better do a good job at this, right? If you're having a tough time and you're tired of your kids, halfway effort in their work for you, publishing online in front of real people who matter will raise those stakes. Will it solve all your problems? Will it bring that kid who doesn't give a crap back forward? Not tomorrow. But eventually, if we can do the project-based learning where the kids are doing things that they find delicious and interesting and working through the process and you're holding their feet to the fire, it brings them back forward and they'll become learners and stop fighting you and even trying to be a student, I promise. Did I tell you I'm doing a whole lot of not talking today? Doesn't seem like it. And then the presenting piece. All right, that's just the title slide. Yay. Y'all know me, right? Hey, I do want to point this out. Bottom left-hand corner over here. It's all right, geez. You ever done any presentations before, Ginger? Go sit in front of the screen. This is me in social media, bottom left-hand corner. If there's anything today that you want to know more about or that you need from me or you have a question or you just want to tell me how wrong I am, reach out for me here. This is a great way to get in my brain. You can go on an email, but the truth is I get about 300 emails a day. I read them. It's so hard to respond to them. So, social media is the quickest way. So if you want to stay connected, I'm just the only ginger woman in the world. So there we go. Did you say ha? It's a good thing. The only one in the world. Yep. This is not rhetorical. This is a real question. Holler them out for me. The fan just started, so I want to hear it.
Tenacity.
Tenacity? Yes. Yes. Yes, I want them asking questions. That if they don't know, don't just sit there. Ask something out loud. It doesn't have to be to me. It could be to somebody else, right? Well, today, during this session, I want us to be the learners that we expect our kids to be. Let's turn around real fast, didn't it? So, think about all those things that you said. And during the session, if there's something you run into, do those things that you just asked. Don't just persist. Ask questions. Talk to other people. Let's figure this stuff out. Okay? Are we all on the same page with this? The difference between PBL and doing projects? I'm not 100% certain with that because of a group that I was just in right before this. It seemed like we were all on the same page, and then it kind of seemed like we weren't. Am I right with that? That there were some people who didn't seem to agree with that? Not you, somebody else, right? Turn to somebody. What's the difference between projects and project-based learning? What's the Venn diagram with that? Turn to somebody. Let's talk it out. What's the difference? How are they alike? How are they different? Go 3 minutes.
So the project-based learning is integrated into whatever they learn.
There are many, many ways to do project-based learning right. I'm saying it out loud. There are many ways to do project-based learning right. Now, there'll be people who tell you, no, 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 no. It has to have these checkmark things. If it doesn't have that, then it's not PBL. And I think, what a great way to invite the new person to not even try. Right? You gotta have it right, perfect from the get-go, or don't even try. That's not where I live. Remember the bridge? I want to go where we are currently and get us there. So, let's talk out loud. How are they alike? How are they different? Student-driven versus teacher-driven. Which one is which?
PBLs.
Right, PBL is student-driven. Always? I hear yeses, I hear nah, sometimes you're worried about being wrong. Remember I said there's many ways to be right today. Many ways, go ahead.
We were just discussing that with project-based learning that is the learning as opposed to doing a project, which is really more a reflection of something you've already learned, generally teacher-oriented.
Oh, that's delicious. Where are you from? Linwood. Linwood, y'all write that down somewhere. We got some genius in Linwood. And I don't say that.
And
I'm-
I have
was that her?
a partner here too.
Okay, good. And where are you from? Farmington. See, I hear all about Linwood Farmington all the time.
It's us.
I really like that. I think there are a lot of messy things with project-based learning that we hear, because if we say it is student-driven, you're not wrong. You're right, there's a lot of choice and voice from kids. And PBL can be kids saying, I want to learn, right? But if we only limit it to that, how do I get my curriculum in there? When it's just kids curious. So can I create a question or a challenge that the kids now investigate? And I'm not a jerk. I try to find something that's really fun for them and interesting for them, right? That makes them want to come. Is that still PBL? And they say, Farmington and Lewman, all about it's when the learning happens. Can we agree with that one? It's the process, it's when it happens. So when we're talking about project-based learning, then a question or a challenge, and we said, I don't know, and we learn by doing it. Whereas if it's just a project, oftentimes we've read a book or seen a chapter, read a chapter, or watched a video or something, and then we did something that shows what we learned there. That's doing projects. One is learning by doing, the other is learning and then doing. I'm going to tell you, all the rest of the stuff is messy. That's the number one truth. That's the one thing that differentiates projects from project-based learning. If we talk about, it doesn't have to be long-term or short-term. Yes. Does it have to be student-created, student-driven? Yes. Does it have to have computers with it? Yes. No. It's both of those things, depending on who you have and what your purpose is as an educator. The one thing that's always true, say it out loud.
Messy, it's messy.
So is doing projects, though. Right? So see where that's messy? The one truth is learning by doing. Learning by doing. If I'm learning by doing, then I'm doing PBL. Done. I don't care what anybody else says. It's learning by doing. It's project-based learning. Okay. And here's that process, that cycle that we want to go through with this. So here's that super delicious question, that driving challenge that maybe I laid out a hook, right? That I said, oh guys, what do you know about, maybe I told a story, maybe somebody else told a story, maybe somebody came to the room and said, hey guys, I'm the secretary of the UN and we need to save the earth because I don't know what it is. It's something that brings their brains, what? And then it comes down to a driving question. It's like, by the way, it got loud. Do I need to use the microphone? Back row, do I need to use the microphone?
No,
Okay. Nope, you a loud mouth, Judge. Okay, that's cool.
Me too, so.
Good, we're good. Good company. so that it's like a 5-paragraph essay format. Y'all remember how to teach and how to do 5-paragraph essays? Right, we got our introduction, and we take the reader whose brain is in 150 different places, right? And we slowly bring them in until in that introduction, and what do we end the introduction with? Thesis statement, right? That's your driving question. And then we hit our points and we do our research and then we let them go back. Yeah, it's very similar to this. We become a hook, the driving question, exciting challenge, creates that need to know. I have no idea, me neither, how are we gonna figure this out? And then they're in there researching, thinking, they're practicing those things that you just said, persistence and collaboration and communication. Choice and voice, they get to drive a lot of it. Listen, I own the map. I am the teacher in the classroom. There is absolutely no question who's in charge in this classroom. But I give them so much opportunity to make their own decisions, and it's really, like I said, a democratic approach. They're driving as long as we're still on the road. Sometimes kids aren't great at driving, and that starts to ease over toward the shoulder a little bit. I'm like, no, we're back here, keep driving. Okay, keep going again. And that's where I want us to be as teachers. Sometimes people who are newish to PBL say, well, it's all about the kids, so there's your challenge. I'm gonna go sit over here and grade papers. And that's rough, because the kids need us. You've ever heard I don't wanna be the sage on the stage, I wanna be the guide on the side. I don't wanna be the guide on the side either. I wanna be the meddler in the middle. I wanna be there shoulder to shoulder with the kids. People say, you can't teach from your seat. That's the only way I can teach. I want to sit down right next to the kid in their group or there's question and they're by themselves and say, well, what are you doing? How's it working? How about this? And I don't care if they're coming in way above everybody else or way below everybody else. I admire the work they're doing and then take them deeper, whatever's deeper appropriate for them. If I'm standing on my feet and talking to people, how do I ever get to talk to each kid? I end up talking to all kids, not each kid. There's a difference, isn't there? Between all and each. There's a little rant there. So, choice and voice, they're driving the show. It's my car. Soft and hard deadlines. Are you familiar with soft and hard deadlines? How many of you guys were in my session just right before lunch? A few, some weren't. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Sorry. I didn't plan to do this in that first session, but y'all just, made me. So, when a restaurant first opens, do they open their doors to everybody? They don't. Who do they open their doors to first?
Friends and family.
Right. They bring them in, and they run that kitchen, that waitstaff as hard as they possibly can. Why?
See what goes wrong.
That's right. They want to see what works, they want to see what's broken. And then we say, oh my gosh, family, sorry, here's a coupon for a free meal later. Come back later. We close those doors and we fix it. And we know what we're doing, and then we open up to the public, and we're ready to go, right? If we have kids in our classrooms right now who are giving us halfway effort, phoning it in, no pun intended, because some are. We have 2 weeks, they start the night before, and they're like, good enough, I'm done. Then we got a problem. When you use hard and soft deadlines, what we'll do is, say it's a 2-week-long project, Monday, Friday. I should go this way for you guys, but you get the point. About Tuesday of the second week, I'll say, be ready to present as if you're finished on that Tuesday. Be ready. And they're not all ready, but they're real close, right? And we know we're really presenting because we're doing feedback and everybody's gonna watch. Okay, so the group comes up here, they're getting ready to present. I sit down here in the audience, right? Got my pencil and paper, and I'm watching. You and I are all in the audience. We make 2 columns on a piece of paper. Your computer doesn't matter. It's a rough draft anyway. And you do likes and wonders as they're presenting. I like how they, I like when they, I like that the, I like, right? And then the wonders. I wonder why they chose, I wonder if they, I wonder, blah, 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 right? And then when they're done presenting, we say, thank you, good job, okay, and then we turn and we talk to each other. We talk about them, not to them. It's like a fishbowl, but the opposite, right? And we get back together and we say, well, I like how they, I like how they, I like how they, we all share that out. And then I wonder how, I wonder. And they're listening to the whole thing. If they're smart, they're taking notes. Right? So then when we're finished, I say, and do you have any rebuts? Some will, some won't. Some kids will be like, yes, we did this because they'll have everything written down. And some will be like, no, we're just doing our thing. It's okay. And now they have 3 more days to tighten up their final presentation. so that when we present to that high stakes, when it's published, when it's pushed out there, you're not embarrassing the family, right? How many of us are hesitant sometimes to publish kids' work because it's a little embarrassing, right? This soft and hard deadline, I can't say it, it's not like a magic wand and fixes it overnight, but over time, it's really powerful. And the best thing about it is, you don't have to be in a PBL classroom to use that. If you ever have kids present, this is a great way to do that. And they get to see what high quality is super fast. Yeah, all right. Ginger, you still have tools. I keep saying that, don't I? All right, here we go. Ta-da, did I say 10 slides? That's all we have. This is the last slide. Okay, if you, oh Lord, that was loud. If you would, I'm going to send you to a live binder. Are you familiar with live binder? Say yes. If you're not, say no. No. Learning. Okay, so I hope you have a device. Even if it's a phone, you can still do this. It might look a little bit different on your phone, but it's still all there. And capitalization matters, goo.gl/ capital I, oh, sorry, lowercase I, capital F, numeral 3, capital V, capital F, as in Frank. Is my shoulder still covering the screen?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, goo.gl/. So goo.gl/. Lowercase I, uppercase F, as in Frank, numeral 3, capital V, capital F. Yes? Does that take you where we need to go?
Yes.
So it's going to take you to, when I click into it, ta-da, look at me not having it preloaded because, you know, pre-planning. Drop it in here, and that's from another session, drop it in there, and it took you to a place that looks a whole lot like this. Yes? What I've just done is I have sent you to my PBL resources shelf. What we're looking at with live binders, for those of you who are not familiar, live binders is nothing more than a virtual 3-ring notebook. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to be teaching about plants, flowers, that sort of thing. I'm going to collect a bunch of websites, blog posts, pictures, diagrams, videos, and I'm going to put it in this binder, and I'm going to put it on my shelf called Science. So I've got a binder called Plants and Flowers on my shelf called Science. Then later I'm going to be teaching about animals, right? So I'll collect a bunch of blog posts, websites, pictures, documents, all these sorts of things. And then I'll title that Animals. And I'll put it on my shelf called Science. So I have a science shelf with 2 very different binders up there, right? That's what this is. This is a PBL shelf with a lot of different binders, but all of these, in one way or another, relate to PBL. So we can scroll down here and take a look at those if you want to. But the one we're really looking at today, you know which one, it's this one. So find this orange one, it says 5 must-have tools for PBL, double click it. If you're using your phone or some other mobile device, these tabs might be down the side, is that correct? Okay, and it's fine, they're still there, they're just tabs. Now, I don't know about y'all, I'm not always the most organized person in the world. In fact, if it's paper, my organization relates to stacks of things. My husband, who is not that way, I drive him crazy. It works for me, mostly. But I can be highly organized with a live binder. So what we're looking at here is, you see these tabs? First of all, how many types of tools do you see here? 10. Right, I told you I'm challenged with numbers. 2, let's go ahead and click into this one that says video conferencing chat tools. And you'll notice sub-tabs show up. Do you see them? Some of these are tools. Some of these are tutorials for tools. Okay, and ideas for tools. Okay, now, you can click through this, but before we do, I want us to very briefly talk. When, in a PBL cycle, pull that back up. When, in a PBL cycle, would we ever use, oh, I need to, hold on just a second. You never knew I had that many desktops, right? Okay, so, in this cycle, When would we use video conferencing? When would we need to video conference someone? At what phase here? Absolutely, absolutely. So, in your PBL research, when could we and then what tools could we use? They're right there. When could we use collaborative documents? And when I say collaborative documents, I'm talking about Google Docs. But perhaps you're not a Google school, because Google is the devil, no problem. Maybe you are by Microsoft Office. Maybe you're totally agnostic and you go with the Zoho tools. They're all the same sorts of things with collaborative documents, okay? So when would you have kids collaborate on some sort of documentation in this process?
Do a group project.
But when? When in the cycle?
21st century skills.
Hard and self deadlines.
Yes, 21st.
Do presentation.
You could use it in a budget.
When they're researching, for sure, right? One of the things I love to do, if I'm having my kids, we're digging into something that's really tough for their age group, right? And they know nothing. One of the first things, instead of putting them into groups first and letting them just sit there idle going, I don't know what to do, we do a large group research. And so one of the kids will open up a Google Doc, and then I'll start asking some questions. Well, I don't know, have you thought about, and I'll just ask some questions, some seed questions. They're digging in to the Googles, they're searching, and when they find it, they put information, just copy paste it into the doc, right? I can have 70 kids at a time doing this, and we can, in a very short amount of time, cover a lot of content. Do they all know the content perfectly? Nope, I call it quick and dirty research. They cite their sources, not just a raw link, so that when somebody comes back to this, then they all can have it. Does this make sense? I feel like I'm talking in the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
If you need, hey, Ginger, show us this in real life.
Show it to us, Ginger.
Okay, do you really need it? Because I will.
Show it to us.
Oh, you're just killing me, girl. Okay, so one of the things, let me go over here. So I've got kiddos who might be, this is just an easy one. Oh, no. Okay. What has just happened here? Wait for it. We'll come back to this. I want to see Navigator. There we go. I want to see Viking. I'm just going to cuss a little bit. Nobody listen. Girls are in the room. I'm not really cussing. Okay. Okay, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at right here. And it would be in which set? Hold tight. Okay, so sometimes I need kids to learn about European explorers, and one of the types of European explorers I need them to learn about would be Vikings, right? And so, one of the things that I would have them doing is I would have this card out. I would have this printed, and I would have it in my back pocket. So, I tell a story. Do you want me to just run this? Do you want me to just start the hook to the... Do you want me to do the thing? It's not the tools, but if this is what you want, you have the tools all right now. If you're like, cool, Ginge, I just need no tools. If you leave, no harm, no foul. But we can do this. I don't have a problem with it, if you guys don't. So look at me, he's like, yep, that's what I wanted. Okay. You're my class. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it's fine. We're going to do this. I'm going to come in, I'm going to say, hey kiddos, we are studying about the Vikings today. What do you know about the Vikings? I know you know some things. Tell me what you know. Holler it out.
Fierce sailors, warriors.
Sailors and warriors. Yes, good. Thank you. What else? Eric the Red. What is that? He's a guy, right? He's one of the Vikings guys. Oh, do we know any other Vikings? Is that the only one we know?
Leif Erikson.
Leif Erikson. Okay, so we know some of these things. Some of y'all in the room probably have never heard of those before. It's okay. What else did we say back here?
First discoverers of Americas.
First discoverers of Americas. Nice. Where did they come?
Greenland.
To where? Greenland. Anywhere else? Nova Scotia? No. Right. If you're in my classroom, I'm like, show me the map. Show me on the map. You're gonna have to get up and right. You can, whatever you need to. I like people to get up and move sometimes. So and that way we can all see easily. So then we're there. Okay. Then also, where did they come from? Where did they live? Because you said they explored. Where did they come from? Anybody? Scandinavia, I don't know the country Scandinavia. Show me on the map, the country Scandinavia.
It's not.
Oh, it's not, what do you mean? Then where are they from? It's a region, we start talking about these things, right? Over here, show me that. All right, and now make you name the countries. Can anybody name the Scandinavian countries? Don't forget Denmark, it's in there too. Right, right, and Iceland. Iceland's in there too, that's right. Okay, so not everybody knows that. What do they look like? Tell me out loud. Blonde?
Big and burly.
Blonde, big and burly? What?
Beards.
Beards? Even everybody?
The women too.
Yes, the women too. Strong women, right? Absolutely. I'm just talking now. Right, so they have beards. I don't know if the women did or not. What do they wear?
Hats with horns.
The hats with horns,
Later.
right? Horns how? Show me with your hands. Where are the horns? Show me, show me, show me. You do it like this? Like this? Like, yeah, she's over there with the Texas hook'em horns, but I got you, right? Like, big, right? Okay. What do they eat?
Meat.
Fish. Do we know that, or are you guessing?
Meat.
Me. There's always somebody in the room who knows things that nobody else does.
Yes.
So that's me, right? I pulled that out of you, right? It's a fermented honey drink that's delicious. What else? What else? What can you tell me about their boats, their transportation? How did they? Because you told me they went across the sea. How did they get there?
Yeah.
Boats went up. I know this picture wouldn't be on the wall, right? This picture right up on. And so I would say something like, oh, like in the Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean, like those type of boats? No. Smaller? No sails.
With
Rowers.
they work in
Lots of rowers. You guys know some things, right? Now some of y'all did the same thing, right? Hey guys, do you mind? I wanna tell you a story. Mind if I tell you a story? And if you're my kids, you take a story, get you off track. So you're like, yeah, go ahead, tell the story. No problem. So this is a true story. It's a true story. Back in the mid-1800s in Minnesota, there was a farmer who's out farming his ground, as farmers do. I know you guys have a lot of rocks here. Do you have a lot of farms?
Yeah.
Hayfields?
Yeah.
Not a lot of digging into the ground? Just guessing.
It's not very successful.
Right, it's kind of a rocky ground. Right, but in Minnesota, well, they're kind of rocky there too. Anyway, so the guy is, he's out there farming, and his plow hooks into a rock. And it's a very unique rock. It's a rock like he has never seen before. Not only in its shape, right, it's kind of flat, it's kind of long, kind of narrow. Right, narrow. Kids don't talk like that, I do, I don't know why. And the type of rock it is, he's never seen anything like that ever before in this part of the country. It's really unique, and he's intrigued. He has to get it out from under his plow, check this and that. And darn it, if he doesn't look at it closer, it looks like there's writing on it. Writing on this rock. Right, true story. So he gets and he looks at it and he's like, I have no idea what this is, but he's curious, a farmer guy. Doesn't know things, so he goes to the library in town and he talks to the librarians. The librarians know things, and if they don't know them, they can look stuff up and they can talk with you. And they did some research, and he says, "Don't know it. It's not. I think it's a rune stone. I think it's a Viking stone. I think that's really great." It's a true story. So I don't know if you guys know anything about living in a small town. I say this to kids who are from small towns. He decided he was going to tell his neighbors all about this new rune stone that he found from Vikings. And they laughed at him. They laughed at him. They're like, oh, you're such an idiot. We know the Vikings only came down to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. How they get to Minnesota? They carry their boats, you idiot, right? And they made fun of him. Probably more 1800s language, but still. They made fun of him. They made fun of him so badly that his son had to quit school. They made fun of him so badly that he committed suicide. Let's fast forward. It's a true story. Fast forward several decades, right? And this guy who studies, he works at a university, catches wind that there's a rune stone in central Minnesota, right? He's a Vikingologist. I don't know if that's what you call him, but he studies Vikings. And he catches wind and he says, okay, I gotta go see this. I gotta figure this out. He's like, there's no way that it's real. Because, I mean, how do the Vikings get to Minnesota? I mean, how do they get there? It's obviously silly. He goes there, he searches around, he comes to the community, and he's like, he's found it. And he says, he's looking for it. People, I don't even know what you're talking about. You haven't really done it, it's decades before. And finally, he comes into probably the librarian. The librarian says, You might want to check that homestead up on the hill up there. Go check that out. He goes up there. He finds the rhinestone. They're using it as a sidewalk, as you do with ancient artifacts. And and so the guy digs it out and he looks at it, and he says, "This looks like a runestone." And not only that, he says, I think it's legit. He tests it. It is legit. And he can read what it says. And amongst some of the other things, one of the parts of it says, 10 men went out hunting, only 4 returned, covered in blood. Exactly. Let's build a Viking ship today. What do you say? Should we do that? We build a Viking ship, right? Now, if you're my kids, you got that. You got the dum-dum. Some kid does that. Oh, gotcha. And some kids are like, a Viking ship? Yeah. Okay. What do we know about it? You guys, some of the things that you said earlier about what you know about Vikings, some of you were right and some of you weren't right. So let's dig in. Who's starting to Google them? Don't actually start. Who's starting to Google them? Right? I'll do it because I got one of those kids. And so that kid, by the way, nobody said anything in this group. This is the first group, no, the second group of teachers I've ever had who never said football when I said, what do you know about the Vikings? I like it when they say that. Because where are the Vikings from? And now you know the rest of the story. Right? That's why they're called the Minnesota Vikings. It's if you were Googling it as I was talking about it, anybody checking my facts? Oh, y'all just taking what I'm saying is real?
Yeah.
Were you Googling? Good for you. What's the name of the stone? Yes, and do you know that particular stone? What's it called? It's called the Kensington Stone, right? And other people, experts have come in and they've said it's totally a hoax, it's not real. But that community has it in a museum, and it's really something they've tied themselves to and really believe it to be real, and it's a big thing to them. So the Kensington Stone, I love it because my kids are used to me lying to them to get them hooked into things. They're like, oh, whatever, and they're checking me. They fact check me. That's called research, y'all. Please fact check me every chance you can. I got you hooked. No. So there they are. So then we start building a book. I'm asking them all sorts of questions. This is now where I have this in my back pocket, right? And I pull it out and I say things like, so I know that you love all about the wars and what did they find out what they had, and you're telling me about the horns and the helmets, right? I need to see that, and you were about where they lived. Get all the maps where you can. Where did they go? And I'm getting people to do different things in their national groups, things that they would enjoy. What did they eat? Tell me this. And meanwhile, I'm also holding that in my back pocket, and I'll say things like, well, where did they live? Where did they travel? How did they change? Did they change history? What changed there? Where else did they have art? Somebody find the art. Find the art for me. So they're digging in. They're putting that stuff in the Google Doc. They're putting it in super fast. They think we're just playing. They think because they're copying and pasting. I'm okay with that right now. It's dirty, quick and dirty research. Now, in about 30 minutes, they've got this. They've got it all done. They've got a good handle on it. Let me go ahead and get to this one. Just because you asked for it, go all the way through. So this is my classroom. It's a true story, I'm telling you. I had 25 kids and 1.5 teachers because one of the teachers didn't know what the heck she was doing. Right? I'll tell you about that later, right? I hooked them just like I told you, just like I did. The kids are in there about 30 minutes into it. Pretty soon I go to a team which I know is pretty construction heavy. Kids who need to have their hands busy, right? So then I ask them, well, what are the dimensions? Let's find a real boat. Primary source documents, children. Not the crap off the top of your heads, because the top of your heads just ain't so smart, right? And so they're in there, they're researching, the primary source documents are there. This is our boat we've made out of foam. They've made a lot of models. You don't get to touch my expensive stuff until you show me you know what you're talking about for models. So there it is. They're trying to practicing little models in the prow. Right? I would never use that term. That kid owns this prow, man. Ain't nobody allowed to touch it. He owns this part, right? And figuring stuff out. Always researching up against what they think they know to what is true. It's a 1/5 scale model. 1/5 scale. We built the little models of the shields. The shields went on. By the way, this was done in one day. From 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. I kicked them out. I said, your parents are going to get out of my school. Right? And we weren't painted by the end of the day. But we had it, was it painted? I don't know if it was painted or not by the end of the day. I don't think it was. Time has passed. And so that's the ship, the boat hanging in my classroom. Why 1/5 scale model? Why what? It's cheaper. Sure. Fewer materials. What else? Right? They have to, my kids suck at fractions. And they're doing fractions all day long. And it matters now, right? And I needed to defend inside my classroom. The details are really important with this, guys. This is not lazy research. I've shown this and talked to administrators before, and they're like, cute, Ginger. I need my kids to actually learn things, not do crafts. Which just told me that I didn't convey it well, and that they have no freaking idea what PBL is. This is a Trojan horse. Do I care about the boat at all? Not at all. Who cares about the boat? Oh my God, they want the boat. They want that so bad to be beautiful. And as they're working, I walk up and say, now where were the Vikings from? And if they can't answer, then you gotta get your hands off this boat, get back to your computer and figure that stuff out before you build it wrong. Well, I'm gonna put them out. I don't care. We need this to be authentic because this is gonna hang up in a museum and people are gonna see it. I'm publishing this. And people know that I publish stuff on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. They're like, oh Lord, okay, don't embarrass the family, children, don't embarrass the family, okay? Details. By the way, y'all, I hate to break it to you, Vikings did not have helmets on their horns. Why would you go into battle with a giant handle on the side of your head? Just saying, they did it. Wagner. I think Richard Wagner, the opera guy, is the one who made it look more dramatic. You know what I'm saying, right? This is the actual, they found the Ostberg ship. They're not building what they think they know, Hagar the Horrible. They're building, so this is my kids. What are those lines? It's wood grain, made by little 5th and 6th grade fingernails. Right? And can you see there's red? I don't know if you can see that. There's red around this rivet. Why? It's not blood on the outside of the boat. It's around the rivets. That's right, because we found that they made their stuff with iron. Iron rust, iron oxide. Now I'm doing my best guess as a non-science teacher to teach about oxidization. Does this matter? And we're always looking at the real boat, right? This is stuff that we found online in a museum. The kids are in there, they're researching. And this is my classroom. This is a picture of my classroom. They're learning to cite their sources. If they don't cite their source, I will say, hey, I see some facts in here. How do I know that they're real? I don't know that they're real unless you can back them. If you don't cite them, I will be deleting them. Right? And I am a jerk. I delete things. So then we get into the size of it. We've discovered 10 foot long, 4 foot wide, 2 foot deep is 1/5 scale model. I got kids drawing it. This kid can draw, man, he can draw a beautiful boat. But I keep saying, I see how the wood bends up and in. How are we going to do that? I keep doing this with my hands. Why? And they're going to say, maybe we should build a model. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. That's a good idea. So now they build 853 boats that'll sink. And that's okay. I want them to see what doesn't work. How will that work? One kid finally says, maybe we should have ribs. What a great idea. He's looking up shipbuilding, right? And finally, at lunchtime, we went to our local lumberyard because I could. If you can't take your kids, I didn't take all of them. I just took a few of them. They skipped lunch. We called it a working lunch. And my partner and I had gone in there. Now, by the way, I said 1.5 teachers, and I said my partner. My partner was the art teacher. Kevin Honeycutt is my partner at the time. And Kevin came in, and he knows how to build a freaking boat. I don't know how to build a boat, but he knows how to teach about the Vikings. He said, let's build a Viking ship. I said, okay. And I made sure they had the content. He helped them do the construction. What a great opportunity to bring real arts into the classroom. Engineering, anyone? That's art. Design, yes. If you can't take kids to the lumberyard, no problem, have a corner over and have a price tag on every single thing and say you got $100. Figure it out. Meanwhile, I asked the kids, what should we build it out of? They said, plywood. I was like, first of all, how much does plywood cost? Second of all, how is that going to bend? Well, we can put it under pressure and water. And I'm like, and it's due when? Today? Okay, and so they settled on this Dow Blue phone, which is very light. And these two kids over here decided that they were going to own the inside of that boat. No duct tape on the outside, why? We wanted it to look authentic. It's not about pretty, it's about authentic. And it does not look like a kid put it together, right? So always have the boat on the wall, so they're building what they know, not what they think they know. This poor kid, he fell in love with this boat. I was scared because he's kind of a klutz. Very next day, I had a brother and sister who didn't get along, so I gave them a hot glue gun. And gotta get along, y'all. And they put the shields on. By the way, this is nothing but hot glue, like, and then another little one on top, and then spray painted with bronze coloring. Done. Yeah, not me, that's the art teacher. Here's the actual Oostburg ship, and here's ours hanging above the stairwell in our classroom. And I had kids, when people would come to our school, I had kids who were not even in that class telling all about the Vikings. I call that a win, right? This is the sort of thing that kids want to come to. I did it in one day, right, all day. I could have broken it down into an hour over a week and a half. And I really only touched slightly science, mostly math and social studies. But if I could have slowed it down and taken it longer, could your curriculum have gotten into it? If this is interesting to you, this is one of our PBL recipe cards. I've got 65 of these. It's lifepracticepbl.org. Out there in the Expo Center, if you want to know the daily how-tos, there's my book out there. I don't even know if I have a picture of it. Life Practice PBL is the, no, that's not the name of it. I got the name of my book. Lifepracticepbl.org. That's where you can go. And in here you can see the book. It'll show up in a second. I need to update this. Look, I've still got dark hair. I've had blonde hair for 2 years. So. And there's Kevin and me. See, I'm so sorry that I haven't updated this. In the book. And the book is for teachers who are not yet comfortable with PBL, who don't yet see how it goes. I will tell you, if you are a K-4 teacher, this book isn't going to help you much. If you're a K-4 teacher or support K-4 teachers, reach out to me and I will send you a resource that is beautiful for that age level. This book really focuses at 5 through 12. Okay, I've got a colleague who says, Ginge, I like your book. You're missing some really important things for my littles. Hey, by the way, was I supposed to be done like 30 minutes ago? 2:30? 7 minutes, guys, 7 minutes. Hi, that was 7 minutes over. So, this is what I want to do. But yeah, if you gotta go, I totally dig it, and I'm so sorry about this. Someday I'm gonna learn how to be, responsible with time. This is it. We want our kids collaborating, pushing things out through social media, getting a hold of experts through social media. I want them learning how to make a phone call. Google Alerts is like a little research assistant in your pocket that does the research while you're sleeping, pings stuff back up on you. How much does it cost? Your information, Google. But otherwise, it's free, money-wise. Citing sources, how do we do that? Blogging, booklet, all of these are in here, guys. And if you really are a tool hound, this is a tool, this is a spreadsheet that I crowdsourced with people. I realized that when I stepped away from the classroom, I stopped learning about new tools. And it terrified me. So I made a list. Those of us who remember the 80s, remember the perfume? If you like this, you love Giorgio, the cheap $2 perfume, right? If you love the $40, this is what I did here. If you love Photoshop, and it's photo editing, that's what it is, here's a bunch of other tools that you can do. Some of them cost. Book Creator, Edmodo, these are all things I used to know. Some people don't even know these tools. Some of them have died. And by the way, this is totally open. If you want to edit it and add in your stuff, please do. You get to it right here. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for your time. By the way,